let's dive into perineal scar massage. It is really common to have one of these birth injuries where we tear along the perineum, but just like with cesarean scars, we want to work on that scar tissue to create more mobility. When scar tissue happens, it's the body laying down tissues fast so that it can heal, which is great, but it doesn't do it nice and smooth like we would like. It actually kind of just lays it down like this really fast, and it creates a lack of mobility of those tissues. So just like with cesarean scar, we want those tissues to be mobile. With the perineum, we also want those tissues to be mobile. So when we do scar massage, essentially, we have a scar that's all kind of bogged up like this. And as we work on it over time, we create that nice and smooth flexibility and mobile tissues. So an area of the perineum, we need that to be able to stretch for various activities, and one of which is sex. And the most common thing people are worried about when they're returning to sex is that there could be pain if they've had perineal tearing. So if we work on the scar tissue, we decrease the risk of there being pain postpartum, especially with the return to sex. So the perineum is from the vaginal opening, the introitus, all the way down to the rectum here, into the anus. Now, this area here has different varying levels that it can tear. So sometimes people just have a grade 1, which goes to the skin. We still want to do scar massage for that. Sometimes they have a grade 2 that goes in the muscle. Grade 3 starts to go into the anal sphincter, and grade 4 goes all the way through the rectal tissue there. There is also scarring that can go up the labia. And just like how men have tissues that expand when they get aroused, so do we. So you see this blue right here. This is the area that when we're aroused can swell. So if you have a tearing along the labia here and you get aroused and this tissue pushes out, it can be uncomfortable. So we want to massage both the scarring on the perineum and up the labia. Now, I recommend starting this after 6 weeks just to make sure that you've fully healed in those areas, but let's talk about what it looks like. We'll start with the labia because that's a little bit easier. All we're gonna do for that is we're just gonna do gentle circles and massage on the area where the scarring was. We can go up and down, we can do circles. There's no right or wrong here. We're just trying to break up that scar tissue. Now for the perineum, I'm gonna switch to my fingers acting as if they're vagina, and we're gonna mimic massaging along this region here. So now, here's the vagina that I was talking about, here's the perineum, and then the anus would be back here. So what I want you to start doing is take your thumb, place it inside your vagina, and you're gonna do a pill rolling, skin rolling movement like this. You're gonna go in, and you're gonna scan that perineal tissue from 3 o'clock all the way to 9 o'clock. You're gonna go all the way around that area, and you're gonna scan it and see where maybe tissues feel a bit tighter than others, okay? So you're gonna scan, scan, scan. If you find an area that feels a little bit tougher, maybe you feel a little nodule, that would be the area to stop and then roll on. We're not pinching really hard, it's just a gentle movement of that tissue to slowly start breaking up the scar tissue. I recommend spending about 30 seconds on that area and then moving on. But if you can do this 3 to 4 times a day when you go to the bathroom, that is gonna slowly break up the scar tissue. By around 2 weeks of doing that, most of the scar tissue is gone for majority of women, and then we can move on to more of the expansion. So the expansion is where we're gonna work on stretching that perineal tissue. So this is really once you get to the point that when you're massaging, you're doing the skin rolling or pill rolling, whatever you wanna call that you're going to see, oh, it doesn't really feel bad anymore. It feels like there's more pliability. Now we're gonna go into stretching. So you can start with just your thumb, pressing and expanding those tissues. And then you can get to the point where you put in 2 fingers and pull down in all the different directions. So you can pull at the 3 o'clock, the 4 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, and go all the way around the opening. The reason why I'm having you do this first is because if you do the scar tissue first, you allow those tissues to be more mobile. You've desensitized the area because you've touched the area that's had birth trauma to it, whether you have mental trauma from that or just physical trauma. Both are very valid and make it hard to return to sex, and it's gonna make that pain more likely to remain there. So if you work on yourself first, you not only do the physical touch, but you also are doing the work of desensitizing the area, then you're gonna be a lot better set up for the return to sex if that's something that you're choosing to want to do at this point in time. After you've done the massaging, again, you're doing the stretching, and that's where that's gonna be the most similar to having penetrative sex. is that there's going to be insertion. And so if you already know that your fingers have been in and have expanded that area, it's going to make you less scared of that first time that you return to sex. So I encourage scar massage and then working on this expansion so you can feel what that stretch feels like before you get into an intimate situation with your partner. So this is perineal scar massage, but we also talked about if you scarred up or if you tore up to the labia, there's scar there, and you want to massage those areas out as well to break up the scar tissue. So recommendations starting off, when you're doing the skin rolling, you'll start with 3 to 4 times a day at roughly 30 seconds when you can, and then you'll move on to the expansion, where this you'll just spend about 1 minute doing the expansion in all different directions. And again, you'll do that 3 to 4 times a day. So what I find works best is 2 weeks of the skin rolling and then 2 weeks of the expansion.